this works out for us. If so, fantastic. If not, well, we do have old trusty OBS to fall back on. But, okay, let's start from the beginning. I am the one, the only Blood Saint currently coming from you through the power of the internet. And we left off on here, wow, quite a few weeks ago, come to think of it. And we were planning on coming back. We were going to throw a large door rather, into the back room here, this back wall. We were going to start planning out the floor to put little compartments in it. I wanted to expand out the actual bottom for those compartments. And I was going to drop this middle part out to put in actual bridges. So, don't know how much of that we're going to get to today, but yeah, we got our work cut out for us. So, you know what? Let's just hit it hard and see what happens. Have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Not a lot going on in my head right now, outside of the fact of, well, yeah, there's just nothing really going on. And I'm trying to remember how tall I made these doors. I think I settled on 6 feet. Yep, I settled on 6 feet. So, this main floor should be about the same. Oh man, I am really trying to remember what my initial plan was. Like, honestly, this is a really bad thing simply because I completely forgot where I was going with this initially, which is a big problem of mine. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Because I get this, my thought process is, hey, we need to get X, Y, and Z done. And then, of course, something comes up, and, well, that just doesn't get done. But just give me a few seconds. I'm sure I'll work my way back into it. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to duplicate that. Yeah. All right. Now, a few things I can talk about. Infinity War. It's been a few weeks since I last saw it. I saw it the night before it was technically released. But my God, the number of people who have gone on about how, they either liked or hated the movie. But the problem is, a lot of people that seem to dislike it just don't seem to like that style of movie. Matter of fact, I was reading a story from, I believe it was the New York Post, or the New York Times rather. Some guy was basically talking about how, oh, well, this didn't make any sense, and I would have to watch all the movies to understand what's going on, and I don't get why this movie is an amalgamation. I had no idea who this person was, and I had no idea who that person was. The entire quote-unquote review breaks down to, oh, I have to do research to figure out what's going on in this child's movie? No, that's not going to fly. And it's like, it's your job to be a movie reviewer, right? Well, those are the movies we have. So either do your job or find a different job. Not that difficult to come across, in my opinion. I'm wondering if maybe the door should be on the inside. But yeah, the entire quote-unquote movie review literally broke down to, I don't understand why these kids' movies don't just tell me everything from the beginning of the movie. And after reading that, I just thought about how genius the Marvel movies were, because that's what the individual movies are supposed to do. They're supposed to give you a brief overview of who the individual characters are. That way, just like in comics, once you hit the team up, bam, you just go straight into it. You don't have to worry about, oh, who's the guy in this suit? Why is that dude wearing all blue? Why does he look like an American flag? Who's the guy with the hammer? Like, no. You already know. That's Cap. That's Iron Man. These are the guys we're following. These are literally the guys we're following. But for whatever reason, this reviewer, he just felt like it was beneath him to have to spend time to watch this movie he was, I'm assuming, paid to watch, considering this is his job. So it literally broke down to, I don't want to do this job. Okay, then find a different job. It's not that difficult. It could not be the simplest thing ever. It couldn't be any simpler. But yeah, that entire review just rubbed me the wrong way. And everything about it just stunk of some hoity-toity guy who's upset that some stupid kids movie was doing better than whatever, I want to be turned into a lobster if I can't find true love BS, like hoity-toity BS was supposed to be out that week. And honestly, I've heard that, that movie, I can't remember what it was called when it was out, wasn't terrible. But that's the type of artsy film that not a lot of people are going to get. But you do know what a lot of people get? Marvel. And to a significantly lesser extent, DC. You know why? Because a lot of the movie-going public these days know about those characters. Even if they didn't read the comics or watch the cartoons, they've known of the characters. If not because of just pop culture in general, particularly because of the movies. But yeah, the guy just seemed like he didn't want to be there, so everything was terrible. Okay, the doors are good, but I think I'm really debating if I should have the doors on the inside. I'm debating on if the door should be connected to what would be the inside of the wall. Or actually, I could probably expand this wall out and just have the doors hide on the inside of it. Do a quick save and then take a quick look. There we go. My brain is all over the place right now. If you can't tell, I was at work earlier today. Yeah. Okay, so don't have that option. Oh, that sucks. That really, really sucks. Alright, so let me try something else. If I move it forward, is it going to give me that gap still? It gives me that gap still. Alright, screw it. We'll just leave the wall there for now. If push comes to shove, then I'll just have to figure it out. But yeah, we'll just leave it the way it is for right now. But between inside and outside, I think it would be best on the outside, so we'll leave these here for the time being. Not for long, possibly, but just for right now. Anyway, but yeah, the guy was completely unreasonable in the sheer fact of his complaints were strung more along the lines of, I don't see why I need to do this, as opposed to with the actual movie itself. But, it's on the Huffington Post, I believe it. No, the New York Times. I want to say it was the New York Times review. If you feel like going to watch it, feel free. Or watch it. Read it, rather. Feel free. But yeah, the guy was just a pompous piece of shit, and I just don't want to give him any more time. So, I remember before I was talking about dropping this middle platform out and having it connected to bridges. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze this in case I need to lift it back up for whatever reason. Drop this down out of the frame. And we're going to import, oh, not open, import my old bridge that I worked on years ago. Yep, bridge extended my work. You know what, let's go with the basic bridge and see how that does. Because if need be, I think that's going to be a little easier to edit and alter. And as long as the program does not crap out on us, okay, there we go. Okay. We're going to turn this puppy 90 degrees. And we need to move it back this. Of course I didn't have those connected to it. Why would I do that? There we go. Now we're good. Okay. Now this was more of a curved bridge. And actually I really need to get rid of that skin because I need to change that. So you know what? Considering how I constructed this old one, it may not be a bad idea to try and modify this placeholder with this. And then what I can do from there just sort of model it out similar to this. Because yeah, I don't think the curve is going to work good, especially with the way this bridge is set up. But I can use it as a reference of sorts for the way the other bridges are designed, at least for the time being. So, change of plans. We're going to turn the placeholder into the bridge. And that's why we zeroed this out, to drop that back up, bring that back up here if we need it to. So, first we've got the actual floor of it. And then we can expand on that a bit. Well, we're essentially going to try to put in flooring right at where the doors are. And we're going to have those expand out to the individual doors. And then we'll have to go through to add in this railing of sorts. It's a thing. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't get what I'm looking to do, basically this. Ta-da! And for that, what you basically get is a floor. And yeah, I'll need to go in and clean up a little bit of the geometry like so, but, you know, that's to be expected. So basically, we're just going to do that for each of these, and then just to make it a little more, to make these a little more necessary, we'll probably shrink up the actual mid bridge. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to work on right now. But quite frankly, one thing that I absolutely hate from a lot of movie reviewers, especially the ones from, print media, are they have this attitude as certain movie genres are just utterly beneath them because they're not the thinking man's X, Y, or Z. Like, okay, you don't happen to like, you don't find a Marvel movie to your liking. That's fine, brother. Got no problem with you not liking a Marvel movie. Got no problem with you not liking a DC movie. Don't have a problem with you not liking, like an anime or an action movie or whatever. It's fine. You like what you like. However, don't just crap all over a different genre because it wasn't made by by Stanley Kubrick. Don't just crap on a movie that, like Harry Potter. Like, even I'll admit, I'm not a fan of Harry Potter. I'm not. I'm going to be real with you. Granted, I've never watched any of the movies, but I don't have an inclination to watch any of the movies. But even though I don't have an inclination to watch any of them, I don't look down on someone who does. You like what you like. Hell, if you liked everything I liked, we'd probably have very little to freaking talk about. Like, let's be real. We'd probably have very little to talk about. And that's one of the nice things about conversations with other people. To learn a new appreciation for things you didn't have an appreciation for or didn't want an appreciation of. Being able to see something through different eyes, through a brand new lens. But, that's just the way I look at it. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I'll crap on anyone who watches, 30 Shades of whatever. But that's because if you're going to read porn, you might as well just watch it. Just cut out the middleman. Especially since, by all accounts, it's a terrible book series. God-awful book series. Like, I work with a lady who's read them, and she said, yeah, it's basically just porn. Just poorly written. But that's basically my view. If you're gonna read about it, you might as well just freaking watch it. But come on now. For whatever reason, it doesn't want to move. The mouse doesn't want to move when I'm trying to shift over. Okay, there we go. But seriously, like 50 Shades of whatever? Yeah, no. Anyone who's into that series, you can just screw right off. You will never convince me that, oh, it's better written than, yeah, no. Before I even started working at my current job, I had a boss whose wife read all of the books before the movies came out. No, that's Twilight. Never mind, that's a different thing. But yeah, that movie is terrible. Oh, and Twilight. Oh, screw Twilight. Taking one of the best mythological animals and turning them into weird, freaky mutants. Like, werewolves are not just giant freaking wolves. Werewolves are men who turn into wolf hybrids. The whole thing of, oh, well, they imprint on each other. Wait, what? And apparently something about one of the wolves imprinting on a child. Like, dude, the hell, man? So the kid's not even old enough to know their name and you're already saying, oh, I'm going to totally bang this kid? How did no one have a problem with that? And the fact that the main vampire guy is something like 200 or 300 or something years old? Like, are you kidding me? Seriously. No one has a problem with that. And this is the thing that I was asking. You find out a guy is 80, wants to date a girl who's 20, he's creepy. He's a problem. There's something wrong with him. You add another 0 to that, all of a sudden it's a romantic love story? Come on. Like, seriously, I'll be the first to say, okay, you know, younger guy, younger girl, older guy, younger guy, older girl, whatever. That's fine. If you're happy together, you're happy together. But don't tell me that, oh, well, because he's a vampire, the fact that he's, 800 and she's 16. Okay, if we have a problem with a 60-year-old and a 16-year-old, we need to have that same problem with a 600-year-old and the 16-year-old. You cannot tell me, oh, but he's very immature for his age at 600, but the 60-year-old has a problem. Like, no. If one's a problem, they're all a problem. And in my opinion, they're all a problem. And you could argue, oh, but, it's just harmless fantasy. I don't care. In the reality of that world, someone should have called the cops on this guy the moment they found out he's been around for how many years? Oh, yeah, son, you gotta go. You can't be here no more. You gotta go. I need you to no longer exist in this house right now. You have to leave. And my former manager was telling me his wife had read him a paragraph on their way to see the first Twilight movie. That's what I was initially thinking of. And apparently, they said in one paragraph of 4 sentences, one thing. The entire paragraph was doing nothing but explaining how the vampire dude's breath was as sweet as cinnamon and it was caught in the air. They said it 4 times. Now, don't get me wrong. Girls like vampires. That's fine. I think it's a little stupid to like a vampire, but I'm not a huge fan of vampires in general. Outside of like Nosferatu, because he's always a cool. I've always seen him and thought he was a cool design. I liked his design. I thought Nosferatu was fine. Not sexy. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a fan of David Boreanaz, so Angel was always kind of cool. Matter of fact, David Boreanaz is kind of the reason why I don't hate vampires nearly as much as I used to. Like when I was younger, I couldn't stand them. Interview with the Vampire? Yeah, go screw yourself. No. I was kind of a decent size fan of Tom Cruise. Like this was before the whole freak out on the couch with Oprah thing. This was way before that. I was kind of a fan of his, a pretty decent sized fan. If there was a Tom Cruise movie, I'd go out of my way to try to see it if I was allowed to. But after Interview with the Vampire, oh, screw you, dude. No. Like this whole thing about, oh, Brad Pitt is this tortured vampire, and you're turning, what's her name? Not Kristen Stewart. The girl from the original Spider-Man trilogy. Kirsten Dunst. There we go. Not Kristen. Kirsten Dunst. You're turning her into a vampire, and now you're going to turn this other poor woman into a vampire. And she's a poor monster now. And because you're trying to abandon her, she wants nothing more than to have something she can have for her own. Oh, screw all of that. And honestly, if you're going to do anything, couldn't you have put Antonio Banderas in more of the movie? He's one of the few vampires in the movie that made me think, alright, I see the appeal. Okay. I'm understanding. I'm not agreeing with, but I'm understanding where this all comes from. But okay, that's fine. Alright, I've got this at what? 14 feet? Yeah, it's 14 feet wide. Let's go ahead and narrow that up a bit. question is, narrow it up to what? Maybe we'll narrow it up to, come on, let's go. There we go. Narrow it up to 10? 10 doesn't seem bad. Maybe we'll narrow it to 10. It's like, nah, son. But I'm super pissed that we have yet to get a really good werewolf movie. Like the Werewolf, or the Wolfman rather, the remake of the old, like Hammer horror movies. It wasn't a bad movie. It just didn't appeal to me as much as I would have liked it to have appealed to me, basically. But honestly, it wasn't a bad movie. And honestly, it was kind of forgettable. And for someone who likes the werewolf mythos, that's terrible. 'Cause me, between a vampire and a werewolf, I'm going werewolf every time. Hell, the moment World of Warcraft started offering Worgans, I switched right over to one. It's not perfect, but it'll work. That's fine. But yeah.
I don't like the sound of that.
But yeah. Not a huge fan of werewolves. Not a huge fan of vampires in general. Not saying they're terrible. Just I prefer the wolf. Between the bat and the wolf, I go wolf. But alright. So we got our main bridge. We got our small pathways. Now basically, because I've got the doors offset like this, we're just going to leave the floor mostly flat. No, we're just going to leave it flat. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to put in reinforcement posts similar to this. Just standard blocks really, to go underneath certain sections. That way, when you're looking at it from the game underneath the bridge, it's not just floating. And that reminds me, we need to do that for the floor here too. So I'm curious if I'd be able to do it all at the one time without it causing a huge problem. Spoiler alert, it's going to cause a huge problem. I'm already counting it. But yeah, like straight up, not a huge fan of vampires in most media. But Angel, I was a huge David Boreanaz fan. Even switched over to Bones when he moved on to that show. Which, to be completely honest with you, I feel like they should have had a better ending. They should have been given more to the season to have a better ending for the freaking show. Like, seriously, they were robbed. And after reading the comic of what they were planning to do with season, I think it was 6 or 7, it keeps dropping the floor. It keeps dropping the floor. Except it didn't on the bridge. The bridge it left alone. The bridge is fine, but the floor here is not. So you know what? We're just going to leave it. And for the rooms, I can drop in specific placemats to work as the floor for the actual rooms, come to think of it. And for anything that needs to be solid, it can just be a flat plane. For anything that's going to have like a cutaway tatami mat, I can just build in specific ones that will have stuff, and you know what? That actually will work out. I just need to go in and reverse these so they're not gray. You know what? The grid is kind of in my way right now, so let's get rid of that for the time being. There we... Nope, wrong one. So yeah. Work with me, mouse. But yeah. They were in my opinion, they were robbed. They should have had a proper end to the series. What the hell is this mouse grabbing? Okay, apparently it's going crazy. But yeah. Like, after reading what they were planning to do, you know, from the comic that they had running after season whatever of Angel. Oh man. Apparently the dragon that they had hinted at the end of the series finale for Angel ends up befriending it, and it starts fighting with them. Like, dude, you have a dragon. You have a vampire riding a dragon to fight demons in Los Angeles. Why is this not on TV? Like, of all the things to put on TV, you're going to keep that off? Screw you, WB. I want to see Angel on a dragon flying after people. That would have been amazing. But yeah, the awesomeness of David Boreanaz on a 3D animated dragon, it's gone. It's just gone. And that's something the world will just have to live with. And it sucks. Because I sure as hell would have loved to have seen that. But, you know, nobody asked me my freaking opinion. Okay. So basically we're just going to reverse the normals on these black panels as soon as my mouse grabs the freaking side I'm looking for. And that will fix the problem we had with that. Alright, where is my brain is fried from work. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay, brain. Okay, you're alright, brain, you're drunk. Brain, you're drunk. There we go. There we go. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and reverse this sucker. That's the stuff. And now what we can do is we can add in proper flooring through here to create the actual hidden compartments in certain rooms and whatnot. And I'll probably change it up from one to the other, if for no other reason than to simply just give more variety to what you find. So you don't know automatically, oh, if I go to the front right room, the back left room, the second from the middle on the left one, then I can find, you know, health or weapons or whatever. Okay. So yeah, there we go. And I can add in those floor mats later on. So next thing we're going to need, since now we've got essentially the wood portion, we need to add in these borders. Trying to think of the best way to do that. I could go about extending out the side panels of the bridge and then just extrude straight up. So you know what? Let's do that. What the hell got on my phone? I need to fix that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Oh, let's go ahead and save first, just in case this ends up turning, going south on us. Like, I used to watch a bunch of different shows that wound up getting canceled. Like, one of my favorite shows, definitely one of my favorites, Dead Like Me. If you haven't heard of it, go look it up. The whole premise is people die and they become what they call Grim Reapers. Essentially, basically they're helpers of death, where they pull a person's soul before something happens to them that kills them. In certain instances, it'll just be, nothing major, like person overdoses when they weren't supposed to overdose. And in others, it'll be something tragic like a mass murder. And that's actually what the series finale ended up being. Because I think they were planning on having a third season, and then Showtime, in its infinite wisdom, canceled the series. Like, come on, dude. And then they wound up making a movie tour after it all, like years and years later. And I didn't hear about it until much later than that. Finally got around to watching it, and movie was rough. They couldn't bring back Rube, Mandy Patinkin. That's it. Mandy Patinkin played Rube. They would not. He refused to come back. Once the show was over, he was done. Like, he had already moved on to Criminal Minds. And I think after the movie came out, I think he left Criminal Minds, come to think of it. I heard somewhere that apparently he only does like 3 seasons of a show, and then he just doesn't want to do it anymore. I also heard he's very hard to work with. And I can believe it. He's a very talented man, and very talented people usually are a pain in the ass. Alright, let's see how this winds up working for us. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go in and fix it doing that. Yeah, I'm gonna just have to go in and fix it. But yeah, essentially, that's more or less what I'm thinking of. So, we'll go in, we'll try and get everything bordered out, and from that point, we can then improve on the actual borders. Or should we make them bigger? You know what? I think it might not be a bad idea to make them bigger. Because then we can have the rails coming out of them. Okay. Alright, so we're going to have to work in the top view for a bit. But yeah, Mandy Patinkin, phenomenal actor, apparently a huge dick. Like, I've heard a lot of horror stories of people who just refuse to work with the guy anymore because they say they cannot stand working with him. Which sucks. Like, it always sucks finding out an actor you think would be awesome to work with, kind of like Tommy Lee Jones, is just a phenomenal a-hole. But guess that's Hollywood for you. Alright. So basically we're just going to go in, clean up a lot of these points. And then that way we'll be able to go in to start cleaning up enough of the sides with, expanding on them to then create actual fences that lead the railing from the apartments to the bridge and down the massive corridor. So yeah, I think lo and behold, that will work out relatively well. Okay. Oh, and in case anyone does pop in, if you happen to be a mother, happy early Mother's Day to you. I don't know if what country you're in, but Mother's Day in the U.S. at least is tomorrow, so make sure you have a happy Mother's Day. And if you happen to be in the U.S., tell your mother happy Mother's Day. Unless your mother was a pain, in which case, well, try and be the bigger person. But I ain't your keeper, so do what you want to do. It's all up to you. Alright. It's times like this I wish I knew more musically inclined people that actively worked on music so I could play that in the background while I work on this. Because any music I would have would either be something I worked on, in which case it wasn't finished, like ever, and most likely very repetitive, or I plain and simple can't remember where I put it, while also being, unfinished and repetitive. Which I'm gonna need to spend more time on getting all of that together. Because quite frankly, I'm gonna need more music for what I'm working on. But it is what it is. Can't do it all at the same time, so gotta do what I can when I can. So far, what is this? Streamlabs OBS seems to be working out pretty well. If you out there, how do I sound? Okay. No one's out there. Just talking to a wall. On the internet. Okay. Like a lot of what I'm working on, it's not, glamorous. And I could work on like some of the models I need to work on, but the problem is, the way that I work on them, I never know exactly what I can do, how far I can build with that sort of thing. Because in order to create a character, you kind of need to create them nude. You can't, in most instances, you can't, well, I don't create just the character with their clothes unless it's a character that only has the one attire. And most of the characters that I'm going to be working with will have different forms. Like the main character for the entire game will have, like a relaxed form, a basic form, their original fight form, as well as, after everything goes south, a secondary armor costume that will be indicative of, a change in personality, as well as you'll take more damage, but you'll also be far more, evasive. Plus, I got a major redesign for the secondary character. So, gotta get to that too. But one thing to always remember, you can only do so much, so never overload yourself. I've tried that before, several times, and it never turns out right. Alright, looks like we've made it to the end of the map, end of the bridge rather. So we're gonna move this to there. Fantastique. Did I miss a few? Well, I missed at least this one. So let's make sure we go in and get that taken care of. Okay. Going through and making sure everything is lined up. Alright, so it looks like I only missed the one. Fantastic. That's what I'm talking about. Just what we needed. So, and again, save in progress, slowly but surely. Now, we're basically just going to go through here and then extrude like we did with everything else. Like, it's a real simple thing. In no way is it, difficult to do. Hell, I'm doing it, so how difficult can it really be? Okay. Slowly but surely, we are moving our way up. But yeah, after this, later tonight, it's time to play a game. And I cannot believe I hit that. I'm debating whether or not I need to have some bolting on the underneath. But you know what? Why not? Okay, let's just keep to a line. Not focus in on jumping back and forth just yet. Okay. Slowly but surely moving along. Where the hell did that hair come from? Really don't want to know. 'Cause that is a long hair. And considering I'm bald, there is no way in hell that's mine. Okay. Oh, wrong one. So, in case anyone's wondering, this is all that my bar is. All that. Alright, looks like that's not going to work simply because of the placement of the ramp itself. Okay. Alright, that seems to be a bit too far. Like a quarter of a foot should be more than enough. That seems good. That seems good. It's not too imposing while at the same time not being ridiculously large. So, that'll work. What I'm going to do is start putting in, more geometry, essentially, to start working as the lifts for the building. So, support beams, basically. Okay. And these aren't going to do anything majorly. They're more for a. They're more of a superficial thing, just to make the environment look more plausible and realistic. So essentially, we're going to have these lined up all the way down here, and then we'll do the same all the way across the bridge room, the apartment rooms, and then we'll need to come up with a crosswork for the main room at the end. And then from there, we're going to design some posts to just go straight down. Which, come to think of it, may not be a bad idea to just put in now. I could. I'm not, but I could. Or should I? You know what? No. No. And come to think of it, I'm wondering if maybe we should have this rotated side by side and then have mini braces all the way leading down like a ladder. And then essentially, we would just go in and add 3 beams across here that would connect in to this one. Which, no reason to not set this up on the primary one first, right? Of course not. Just be smart to do. Okay. Since we're working from the midpoint, and then we would basically just connect these two, which would work as the brace, but that actually seems a bit excessive. That seems like it would work better. And then once we turn this into a solid object, just repeat it all the way down for here. Possibly use the same ones down for here. Bada boom, bada bing, good to go. Come to think of it, let's go ahead and hide everything else. Just to make it a little easier to work on. Not have the workload of the full scene just yet. Okay. Here we basically merge them together. Seal the threshold points. And now what we can do is start taking out this erroneous geometry, because we don't need all these points through here. They're just excessive at this point. For whatever reason, my middle finger keeps pressing this right button, and I don't know why. It's freaking annoying. But anyway, okay. Let's drag everything back into here. And there we go. Okay. Okay, so now we've got a support frame. And we're just going to duplicate this all the way through. Okay. Alright. So, now we have the support frame for the bridge going across. And essentially, we can use something, well, just create another couple to go underneath it. But honestly, for the time being, I think we'll just leave it for here, because I may add something here, I may not, I don't know. I may just do it as standing constructs, kind of like a billboard. And remember, essentially what we're trying to do is this through this. Now, what do I want to do for the rooms? I'm thinking something similar to this would probably not be a bad idea. But considering that weight's going to be moving consistently through here, I'm thinking I should probably, if I were to do something similar to this, I would need to reinforce horizontally through here as well, not just vertically. You know what? Rather than talking about it, why not just do it? That seems smart. Okay, so we're going to move over to, we'll move over to primary room. Drop it down. I think these are also 10, right? Okay, I'm trying to piece it together in my mind's eye. Just putting in a rough sketch, essentially, of what I'm thinking we may do. You know, that way it's crisscrossed as a reinforcement. I don't think it needs to be quite that reinforced. Especially since ideally you're not going to look at it from underneath. You know what? Let me do a thing. Okay. Alright, don't know what that sound was, but you know what? It's not important. What is important is that... Nope, that's not what I wanted to press. That's it. Okay. Essentially create a box using just the one square. And then we just drop this sucker down. Okay. Okay, so, is there anything else that I really wanted to talk about? For the life of me, I can't. I can't think. I'm not a very talkative person. I'm usually more reserved. I prefer to just sit back and be quiet. Largely because, depending on where I am, I probably don't really care. Like at work, I generally don't talk a lot at work because I'm just focused on getting the hell out of there. Both for the day and permanently. Which is sad because I work so hard to get my job that now I can't stand being there. And that is largely due to the bosses that I have. Like, I legitimately cannot stand being at work anymore. Because the bosses I have are just the worst. I can't technically go into a lot of detail, but trust me, when I say my bosses are terrible, I'm not just saying, oh man, they're terrible, they come down on us so hard. No, if that was the only thing, I'd be fine with that. But we're talking about people who have gone to the point of, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to. We're talking about to the point of, people who play favoritism as if it's a freaking game. And yeah, I know every boss is going to have their favorites. That's to be expected. However, when you are literally putting a person's, potential life at risk because of favoritism? Dude, that's too much. Like, that is just too much. We understand you have your pets. We understand, how certain people have preferential treatment. But if it's the job and you're making someone else take that risk, no. Either that person does the same job or they need to hand over that paycheck. Like, if you're having me do, take on more risk just because I don't want to suck up to you, you should be paying me more money. Especially when these individuals have more years on me. And I don't mean age-wise, I mean just having been there with what we do. Like, nah. But that's That's as vague as possible. But, alright, so. Didn't mean to turn that off. And we'll put a cross beam through here too. Alright, let's get rid of some of these extra edges since they are not needed. Okay. So yeah, at this point, I'm just trying to figure out anything I want to come out of my retard right now. And while there is a lot I could say, the question is, how much of it is interesting enough to say? Well, generally it should look something like that. Okay. You know what? Let's go ahead and hide the rest of this. Today might just be the hide and seek stream. Okay. Alright, that was a weird pinch. Anyway. Okay, that seems pretty lined up. So now, since these are pretty much lined up, what we're just going to do is drop in... Nope, wrong one. Some lines as such. There we go. Now I can go back in. we'll need that. So let me go ahead and extrude this out a bit. Then I'll just go in, cut that, cut that. We don't need the sides of these. Because what we're going to do is now weld all these individual points together to create a framework of a support. Now, this might potentially be the last thing I do for the day. I don't know. I might just work on this a little more off stream. Or I might just chill out and rest up since, like I said, I did work earlier. And I could really use some downtime. It's weird. I took a vacation last week. And after just 1 week of being back at work, 1 full week, I'm already exhausted. Mainly from dealing with the people I gotta deal with. You know what, not speaking is actually extremely boring. It's boring for me to not say something. At least by me saying something stupid, I'm at least being constructive enough to say something stupid. I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. So, you know what? Let's just keep with it. Hey, looks like we got a viewer. By any chance, would you like to see the full model as it is right now? Feel free to type in yes, or just hang out, either way. But yeah, I'm gonna melt these pieces together. I don't even know which way is up anymore. You know, you don't even have to ask, I'm just gonna do it. Largely because it's time to get back to what I was doing. Alright, so we've got the support for the rooms, and then I can just basically use this all the way down. After which point I can start dropping in the actual beams to connect it to the ground. So yeah. As it is, it's more of a quiet day. Just trying to get this asset for my game put together. But then again, I've been trying to put assets for this thing together for years, so eventually I'll actually have it done. So, what are we going to put together today? Alright, so we've got these put in for the actual room. Now I just need to figure out what I'm going to do for the hall itself. Okay. I might as well create since I've been doing the frames for everything else, I might as well create the frame for the room itself. Question is, I think going with something similar to the individual rooms would be the best course of action. But that's going to be a pretty big call. And I do not even remember how big I made this freaking room. Okay, so I'm going to have to drop this grid back in. Alright, so half the length is 18.5, so that gives me 37. Did I really make this 37 feet by 37? Well, it's a dining hall, so technically that makes more sense. Okay, so time to make 37 by 37. Alright. Do a quick overlay just to double check it. And yeah, looks like it's 37 by 37. Actually, is it 37 by 35 maybe? Would I really do 37 by 35? Wrong one. Apparently I did. Oh well. Is what it is. Okay, so we're just going to drop you over here. Lift this sucker up to there. And does that butt up pretty well? It does. Okay, awesome. So, need to figure out the best way to get this to beam across. Okay. I could do it similar to what I did for this one, but that's going to be tricky. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. All right. You know what? It's going to take me a couple of seconds to figure out if I want to do this based on one individual geometric shape or if I want to do this on several. Doing it from one is going to give me less cleanup, less to have to merge, combine, all of that. However, it would be easier to visualize and be able to put together. My best course of action is probably going to be similar to what I did to the smaller rooms. Create a hollowed box in the center, cut it out, and then create beam geometry along the inside to then extrude and push forward, and then figure out how I'm going to meld all of those together. And then after I do that, I can just use a dumbed down cylinder along the major beams to essentially give it more of a constructed, elevated look. That way when I place it near a riverbed, it explains why, it shows more depth underneath it when the character winds up. Well, should the character go to the bank and happen to look underneath the model. It's going to be a little tricky, but you know what? Screw it, might as well. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So, we'll build it from the 1 and see how far that takes us. So, if anyone happens to be out there, what's going on with your day? How are you enjoying this Saturday afternoon? Or whatever day it happens to be, wherever you happen to be. You enjoying yourself? You having fun? You know what? I'm wondering if maybe I should do a little... Nah. Makes it look more authentic if they all have the same depth to them. But then I just got to remember to add in... Oop, that's not what I wanted. To make sure to add in the correct length for the beams across. Okay. Not really a talkative lot? Okay, I respect that. If you're enjoying the show, hope you're enjoying the show. Alright, that's gonna take forever. Just zip across. Okay, so oh, too high. Okay. Now what we can do is weld this down. Now we can weld all of these together. Perfect. Fantastic. Now, what I'm going to need to do is put beams going across for each direction. I think having 3 massive beams going across one direction with tinier support beams going across the other is probably going to do a pretty good job for us. It'll give us good coverage while simultaneously taking up more of the dead space. So let's go ahead and hide. Display. Wow, I'm losing it today. That is not the thing I wanted to hit. Okay. We're going to need to hide anything that's unselected. We're going to put in 3. You know what? Let's put 4 massive beams across. Okay. Alright, so that'll give us the lines for those. And we'll cut the extra lines in here. Oh, come on. Like, work with me, Maya. Work with me. Oh, come on, mouse. Oh, okay. Apparently Maya's having a seizure again. So, there we go. I don't know why. Maya has that huge glitch and they just never fixed it. So, we'll do that. We'll do that. Match it to the other side. Okay. Let's just go ahead and get rid of these vertices now so we don't forget them. Okay. So now we've got this massive beam in the middle. So now we just need to essentially move these a little farther. And then build in similar length beams close to the edge. A little closer. They're about that length. All right, so this could work out well, or this could be a complete failure. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. There we go. Push these back. Well, we're going to have the geometry going across, so you know what, that's fine. Oop, wrong one. There we go. Now to weld these together. Well, according to this, we've got a few people out there. Anything you want to say? Ask? Comment? By all means, I'd love to hear from you. Like, come on, let's chit chat. Let's see what's going on. You guys working on games yourselves right now? Interested in one? Shopping around for 3D modelers? Okay. Alright, now that we've got those welded together, one second thought, I'm thinking it might not be a bad idea to sort of shrink this up a bit. And we'll move these in a little further inland. Okay. And now basically we just need the small beams to go across. You know what, I'm thinking it might not be a bad idea to just have regular beams go across and then just unify it all. Okay, so we need to bring everything back. Pop in a cube. There we go. Now we need everything to take a hike again. Okay. And let's drop this sucker in here one more time, shall we? Now, if I'm not mistaken, this was 37 feet? Yep, 37 feet. Okay. Okay. Actually, come to think of it, there. Alright, now I made this 35 long, so that's going to make this a little easier in placement, because I can do it at every 5. That's through the Z. Oh. Help if I use translate. That might... -5, got it. That would help with this a little better. Okay. And that gives us a nice little crisscross along here. And assuming the system doesn't go haywire when I do this, I'm going to hope this all adds itself together perfectly. But I'm willing to bet it's going to do something funny, or something it at least considers funny. Holy crap, it actually did it. That's one of the few times I've ever used Union and it not give me a huge headache. Oh, come on. There we go. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. So now, let's see if it'll let me go in and delete these extra lines. Okay. Of course it's going to do that. Alright, fine. You know what? It's fine. It's perfectly fine. If it needs them to keep the geometry stable, it can keep them. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at everything together once again. Let's get rid of that grid. And now we've got a lattice work for the bridge, for the apartment, and the dining hall. So now basically we just need to start adding in the columns to keep it elevated. Let's drop this down so it's not quite so heavy. You know what? 8's good. We're good with 8. Okay. Yeah. We're definitely going to need to shrink this up a bit. .7 maybe? No, it's gonna have to be smaller than that. 0.5 apparently. Wow. Okay. Alright, so we're going down to this level roughly. Alright, and that's essentially it. So now we just gotta multiply this through pretty much this entire array. Well, around the rooms and apartments. I'll probably need to do different setups for the, well, not probably, I will need to do different setups for the actual bridge. But for that, that's just about it. Oh, actually, take that back. Let's name it. One of the few things my teachers did teach me is you gotta name your geometry. You gotta name your geometry. Yeah. You know what? We're gonna do this quick and easy, and then we'll do cleanup after the fact. So basically we just need to get these somewhat even between the seams. Alright. We're just going in quick to eyeball it. Nothing super lined up on the dot. Alright, that's it. This one we're just gonna line up mostly to the beam. Alright. Same with you. Fantastic. This one goes all the way to the end. Okay. Alright. Now, we're basically just going to take this row technically, if we group it, that's going to essentially create instances for everything, which I think is going to give me weird effects when I wind up going into Unity. So for the time being, I'm just going to leave them as they are and just straight duplicate them. I almost forgot something very important. I've done quite a bit of work in a long period of time. Last thing I need is for this to all get lost. That would be a huge setback for me. Not as much of a setback as, you know, me, but a pretty sizable setback. Okay. So that gives us our elevation for the entire array. I'm actually thinking it's best to keep a flat ramp, I'm thinking, but I kind of want to see what it would look like with a bit of a bump to the ramp itself. But for the time being, we'll leave it as this. I might work on down the line a different variant with that bump. And honestly, if I had thought about it at the time, I could have put a small little bump in each one of these if the doors had opened to the same point. But that might have been excessive. It might have been excessive. May have been reaching a bit. May have been a little too much. A little too much, a little bit. A little bit too much. Now, one thing that I am going to do is move these further in. Okay. All right. So, you know what? Let's lift them up a little. Then stretch them out a bit. Give it a quick save. Take a look at how it looks with the doors in. Not bad. Not bad. Definitely need to get some rails in here. Definitely want to get the rails in here. Come to think of it, you can look through the rails to see underneath here. So when I put it into the actual game and I put this underneath a running river, well, over a running river, that'll probably be a nice little outlook here. But I will need to move the doors to the inside of the rooms. We'll need to move the sliding doors to the inside of the rooms. Unless I want to go through here and cut sides off through there. You know what? Should have thought that out better. Bad Saint. You probably didn't hear that. I hit my own hand. I should have known better. I've been bad. Okay. Now I need to figure out what direction I want to move in right now. Should I just start putting the roof on? Should I go ahead and put the roof on? I'm wondering if I should put the roof on. Now, if I do anything, I should put the floor in. I'm going to put the floor in. Okay, but first, let's start the things that are completed. Let's start going ahead and putting them on to layers, so we can quickly get rid of them. Okay, now we got to get all these frameworks. Okay. Alright, so now I can go in and start creating the floors. Or rather, the various options for floors. Oh, there we go. And I was having everything meshed to the top here. So how's everybody doing out there? You doing good? Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. So that'll work as the floor. But that's just going to be the basic floor until I actually start getting more into substance painter. It's just got to deal with being a flat surface. Now, that's just going to be the basic. For the actual hideaway floor, I need to figure out exactly how big I want that to be. You know what? How big are these rooms? I think I did 10 by 10, right? Yeah, looks like they're 10 by 10. So yeah. Ideally, I want to have only a few different versions of this where the different rooms will have different objects. Where if the main character comes across one with a hidden room, it'll have something like like a throwing weapon pickup, maybe health pickups. Have a couple of like actual enemy types just sort of hiding out inside the rooms. That way, once the the player comes across it, it's not the same thing in every room. And this way, it forces the character to want to explore more. So it's not just a situation of, alright, it's another one of those, there's nothing in it. Kind of like the old video game adage of, when you play a game like Legend of Zelda, if you break one pot and find something, you gotta break all the pots to see if you can find something. Okay. All right. And we'll do it in a couple of different versions. That way it's not the same one in each. Okay. So right now we'll just stick to the 3. Yeah. Okay. This one I think we'll do off to the corner as to the tatami mats are rectangular. I'm trying to remember. They're like, what, 2 feet by 4 feet? 2 feet by 5 feet? Something like that? I might not even be thinking of a proper tatami mat. But we'll do a 2x4. We'll do a 2x4. So that'll give us essentially, what, 8 square feet? For the character to be able to find something. And I think for those, it'll probably be something along the lines of like a weapon item or a key item. Okay. This one I think will have more to the back. And it'll also be just a standard tatami mat. Okay. Move this one up a bit. Fantastic. Now we're going to move over to this one. This one will have a smaller, you know, maybe have it as like a food item, you know, like a health pickup basically. Okay. Boom. All right. Now, we're just going to go through and extrude these suckers down about a foot. Well, maybe half a foot. And then basically we would just build an asset that would sit on top of the opening that would allow the character to go into a removal animation where they move the mat and just pick up something, or they'll slide it, you'll get a little glimmer, you'll see something's now in your inventory, and then just put the mat back, or the pottery or the table or whatever it is. And we're also going to need to do the same thing for the big rooms. Okay, so if those are 10 by 10, these are going to be 10 by 20. Okay. Fantastic. It's good seeing normal floors again and not just these black, empty voids. Alright, so that'll be large room, normal floor. Now we're going to move back and do another one. Okay. Alright, drop you into there. For these, something tells me moving it towards the back of the room would probably make the most sense. Probably. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it quits after I get a few of these floors put in. Let's rotate this sucker 180. Might as well do 2, right? Okay. These I actually have as 2 by 6. Let's do one as a 4 by 4. You know what? No, not 4 by 4. 3 by 3. Because that can be for like a clothing pickup. You know, just a different skin for the character to be able to wear later on. And this, we've got 2 by 6, 3 by 3. I guess I could do 2 tatami mats. The tatami mats I was doing is what? I want to say that's what, 3 by 5, 2 by 4. Okay. That's why. Must have accidentally hit 3 and didn't realize it. Well, stupid me. Alright. Let's move these to here. This down to here. Okay. And as it is, I can drop in the points that I need to drop in. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's essentially it. I'll probably figure out a few other things that I want to put in for here, and then I can drop in something there. But for the time being, I've been at this for a little over 2 hours. I think we've done well. I think we've gotten to a good place with this. So, for the time being, I'm happy with it, and I'm out. Blood Saint, over.